Part 30. Lord of all people, am I the only one in the fallen empire? Author, Mishita De. Chapter 291. Until then. Wu Mei, who had been distracted, finally reacted. Then a voice came faintly. If you want, I will take off my clothes and give them back to you now. The cold response made Hayukin's words stuck in her mouth. That's not necessary, it's just a piece of clothing. Feeling the sad breath emanating from Wu Mei, Hayukin's arrogance just now was extinguished. Forget it, I'll give it to you. This matter is over. No longer mentioning that the other party had touched her treasured clothes, Hayukin immediately turned her attention back to Gao Qiang. She nodded to the side, yes, Lord, I will bring you the university scholar you want. Gao Qiang looked in the direction Hayukin pointed. 20 gentlemen in white robes were standing there straight. Some of them held rice paper, while others held bamboo slips. They all had a cloth bag with the word G written on their waists to distinguish which faction they came from. Only 20, Gao Qiang asked subconsciously. How many more do you want? Hayukin helplessly held her forehead. Do you know how much material it takes to train a university scholar? This, I really don't know, Gao Qiang said honestly. Because he can't recruit units at present, he naturally can't see the recruitment cost of the units. But even if he can recruit units, it is likely that he won't need to spend money to recruit them. Sighing, Hayukin helped Gao Qiang popularize the consumption of university scholars. The cost of recruiting only one person can be equivalent to thousands of menial soldiers, and this is just the basis. In fact, recruiting university scholars is also related to the reputation of the Lord. Whether it is positive or negative reputation, it is necessary to break through a critical point to obtain a new university scholar recruitment quota. This critical point is not easily broken by everyone in the Ji family. That is to say, even if Gao Qiang gives material resources, the Ji family will have to wait until 3 years later to recruit 200 university scholars. So long? Listening to Hayukin calculating the accounts for him bit by bit, Gao Qiang realized that the miracle victory was not as simple as he imagined. However, can we ask the undead lords for help? Recalling the situation on the supreme side, there are quite a few undead lords. As long as 1% of the lords meet the requirements, they can quickly recruit 200 university scholars and complete the final victory of this war game. But this idea only stayed in Gao Qiang's mind for a moment and was instantly thrown away. Winning this war game is simple, but the Wuji League still exists after all. In this situation, even among the 3 officials in the palace, only Gong Menquan has confirmed his death. Even if Gao Qiang wins the victory, the loss of the Wuji League will not be great. Even if you want to win, you have to consider it after getting rid of the 3 officials. Just arrange these university scholars to Gao Yu and Gao Qiang instructed Hayukin. Joining the university will always have the blessing of scientific research speed, which can allow the Ji family to quickly improve their comprehensive level. Hayukin nodded. Because Wu Mei's aura of sadness was too heavy. This time, Hayukin didn't say much, and took the university scholar away directly. But at the moment when the university scholar completely joined the university, the war game suddenly broadcast to the whole server. Miracle Building, University, has been triggered, and the miracle victory countdown has begun. Current progress, 10%. What? In the Dao dynasty, a prince stood up subconsciously, staring at the war game panel. Wuji League did a lot of things in this game. Just don't want this war game to end, so as to make this world the back garden of Wuji League with peace of mind. But now, this war game has started the victory countdown. In the eyes of many lords, this is not a victory countdown at all, but a punishment countdown. Only in this war game, they are princes respected by thousands of people. And leaving this war game, many of them are just the bottom, nothing in Wuji League. Even if this war game really ends, most of them are not able to take responsibility. Destroy him. The idea of destroying the university came into the minds of most of the lords. Suddenly, countless lords in the entire Dao dynasty were gathering their troops. In addition to them, all the people also felt a breath of impending storm. Even Gao Qiang could not have thought of it. Just a few university scholars joined the university, and they actually scared the princes of the Wuji League like this. But compared to those lords, one person was faster. Enemy attack. On the wall of Zhaohuang City, the defenders had just sent out a distress signal when an explosion came from his side, knocking him down. And at the place where the defenders had just stopped, a soldier with mechanical wings on his back landed. This scene was played on the walls of Zhaohuang City. Whether in terms of mobility or combat effectiveness, these flying soldiers are much stronger than the defenders. As for the heavy equipment on the wall, it was unusable. Most of those equipment had poor accuracy and slow loading. Not only was there no chance to reload, even if reloading was successful it would be like using a cannon to kill a mosquito, totally useless. As one side gains, the other loses. Not long after, the four camps in the east, west, south and north of Zhaohuang City had been defeated and had to abandon the city walls and retreat into the city. The retreat of the four camps also meant that the enemy troops besieging Zhaohuang City were completely trapped in the city. Shang Guanhongcheng slowly stood on the top of the city wall of Zhaohuang City and looked into the distance. Gao family. He had actually been chasing Gao Qiang very closely during this period. But on the one hand, the troops in his hands were not enough to attack Tianzhou, and on the other hand, he did not want to alert the enemy. So until Gao Qiang landed, Shang Guanhongcheng finally prepared to attack. However, because of the prompt of the war game just now, Shang Guanhongcheng had one more thing to do before dealing with Gao Qiang. University. Standing at the highest position, Shang Guanhongcheng looked far away at the Gao family compound. In fact, the location of the university is not difficult to distinguish. The building with a large enough area and a different architectural style from other buildings is obviously the university. After simply distinguishing the location of the university, Shang Guanhongcheng turned his attention to the soldiers he brought with him. Fire Eagle, Special Item Unit. Introduction: a light infantry unit equipped with a mechanical jet device and mechanical wings. Each person carries a 5-pound bomb and can easily destroy all obstacles on the marching route. Features: continuous bomb throwing, air wings, self-destruction. Self-destruction: when this unit dies, if the bombs it carries are not completely consumed, it will self-destruct, damaging all units within a radius of 15 meters. Lord of all people, am I the only one in the fallen empire? Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 292. Shang Guanhongcheng had to admit that his Fire Eagle warriors really couldn't touch each other after the Tianzhou took off. But now all the sky boats of the Gao family are docked in the house. This is exactly your opportunity. As for Zhaohuang City, Shang Guanhongcheng glanced coldly. Anyway, they are just some indigenous people. After the Gao family is buried, they will go with the Gao family. Raising a finger, Shang Guanhongcheng pointed at the location of the Gao family from a distance. Attack. Suddenly, countless black shadows passed across the sky, blocking out the sun. Because the 4 city gates fell too quickly. It was only then that the people in Zhaohuang City discovered the existence of the Fire Eagle warriors. Although the current target of these Fire Eagle warriors is not the people in the city, they don't mind dropping a bomb in the air when they find the defenders of the 4 major battalions. In an instant, wailing broke out in the city, and countless buildings were raised in the fire. It's an enemy attack. Run away. The entire Zhaohuang city suddenly fell into chaos, with countless people fleeing in all directions. Why is it so noisy outside? Gao Qiang looked towards the outside world in confusion. Since King Huixian was eliminated, the ordinary people in Zhaohuang City have consciously opened a separation zone from the Gao family. But even so, The noise reached Gao Qiang's ears. So what happened in the city? Just when Gao Qiang was thinking this, an explosion came from outside the Gao family's fence without warning. This seems to be just the beginning. Because at the next moment, countless bombs fell like raindrops, hitting the Gao family's residence. The heat wave caused by the violent explosion caressed Gao Qiang's face, making Gao Qiang's cheeks sore. Fortunately, the opponent's bombs were not so dense, so Gao Qiang had a chance to escape. Seeing this, Gao Qiang still chose to take Shasha back to a safe house. It's just that the culprit behind all this seems to have no intention of stopping. Countless black shadows crossed Gao Qiang's head and flew in one direction inside Gao's home. Gao Qiang looked over subconsciously. The goal of those shadows is very clear, the miraculous building in Gao Qiang's hands, the university. Could it be because of the previous notification? Gao Qiang had a suspicion in his mind that there was no way the Wuji League could just watch him win this game. What I didn't expect was that they would come so quickly. At this moment, tongues of fire rose from all over the Gao family. Unlike the outside defenders, facing these air units, the Gao family does not have no countermeasures. The servants who reacted have also picked up automatic weapons to fight back. As the bullet ruthlessly passed through the chest of the Fire Eagle warrior, an explosion appeared in the sky, like someone setting off fireworks on a sunny day. It's a pity that there are too many Fire Eagle warriors. At this moment, they are flying in a dispersed formation, and at a glance, they seem to be endless. Even if some of them died on the way, there were still a large number of Fire Eagle warriors who rushed into the university. Even if some Fire Eagle warriors died, they would deliberately drop their bodies into the university. In an instant, there were endless explosions in the university, and the wooden buildings were ignited by the explosion. The fire and thick smoke almost illuminated everyone's sight. Standing next to Gao Qiang, Shasha naturally saw the Fire Eagle warriors' actions. Wow, Master Yuan is going to be pissed off by them this time. Just as Shasha was making sarcastic remarks, a beam at the university collapsed due to an explosion. In an instant, half a floor of the building crashed directly into the fire, adding a handful of firewood to the fire. The university is actually very fragile. As a miracle building, it is not an ordinary building, so it cannot benefit from the defensive blessing of recycling technology. Now that it was blown up like this, it was obvious that it could not be saved. Including the 20 bachelors who had just been sent by the G family not long ago, they were also buried in the university without any reason. In an instant, the world in front of Gao Qiang suddenly stopped. Having experienced this situation many times, he understood that the university had completely lost its effectiveness as a miracle building. And he once again witnessed the demise of a miracle. Only this time, the university's stagnation doesn't seem to be complete. The fire is still burning. Gao Qiang, on the other hand, found that his field of vision at this moment could be zoomed in or out. After zooming out, we could see that in the Dao dynasty, countless aristocratic families stood up uneasily and looked at the location of the university with a feeling. The thick smoke from the university could not reach the entire territory of Dao, but it was vaguely reflected in the eyes of every scholar at this moment. And if you zoom in, you can zoom all the way into the university. All I saw was the blazing fire. The two bachelors whose faces could not be seen clearly did not run away in a panic like ordinary people, but played chess leisurely. Ta, da. The sound of chess mixed with the sound of burning fire. What can be seen with the naked eye is that a great bachelor is gradually gaining the upper hand on the chessboard. After capturing one of the opponent's chess pieces, the grand scholar slowly said, "What is reason?" The other bachelor didn't reply, he just continued to make moves in his hands, his car and artillery pressing the opponent's handsome moves step by step. It is precisely because of this that another flaw was revealed. After capturing one of the opponent's chess pieces again, the bachelor who had just spoken continued to ask, "What is momentum?" The military front is gaining momentum. More chess pieces moved towards Shuichi, seemingly trying to cut off all options for the other side. Yet, the first university scholar smiled noncommittally, but picked up the general chess in his hand. At this moment, a piece of wood chips fell from the beam and ignited the Chu River and Han River on the chessboard. And the general chess in his hand also fell directly on the general chess. General. The general and the general must not meet. If they meet, one of them must die. If you don't have the power of words, you can't have the power of the world. Even if you have 1,000,000 soldiers, it's better than me being alone. Then, the fire expanded, and the figures of the two university scholars disappeared in the fire. As the two disappeared, a voice also sounded in the fire. Say your wish. Gao Qiang thought about it for a while. The upper level of the miracle path was used by him to increase the upper limit of the fallen empire. Then this time, the lower limit should be slightly raised. I want the ability to force others to listen to me. When saying this, Gao Qiang smiled. In this way, he can continue to squeeze Xiaobai to work in the future, right? Otherwise, Xiaobai will run away when he sees him. Your wish has come true. Perhaps because the miracle talent has reached the 4th level and Gao Qiang's request is not too excessive, the sound in the fire did not lag this time. A medal also quickly flew out of the fire and came close to Gao Qiang. From this perspective, the pattern on the medal is a burning building, which is still majestic even in the flames. Gao Qiang was not given the opportunity to continue watching. The medal flew directly into Gao Qiang's personal panel. At the same time, it also showed Gao Qiang the active ability of the 4th stage of the miracle path. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Lord of all people, am I the only one in the fallen empire? Author, Mishita Di. Chapter 293. Miracle, Level 4. Yes, sir. Such a long name. Gao Qiang glanced at the name of this active ability and couldn't help but feel a little disgusted. Or maybe it's better to call it Jiao Zhao. After changing a catchy name in his mind, Gao Qiang looked at the introduction. Introduction, what is a miracle? Distortion is also a miracle. You can't tolerate the appearance of strange voices, so you get the power to distort your mind. Effect 1, when you enter a game, you get 10 accumulated momentum marks. Effect 2, when you give an order or request, you can activate this ability. If the other party's subjective intention is to refuse, then according to the degree of resistance of the other party and the difference in combat power between you and the other party, consume the corresponding number of accumulated momentum to reasonably change the other party's subjective intention to agree. Among them, the word reasonable is particularly important. At first glance, Gao Qiang thought it was a mental control ability. But the word reasonable brought Jiao Zhao to a new height. Just like a lie requires countless lies to make up for it, mental control abilities always have to guard against the counterattack of the other party's consciousness. But the forged edict is different. Since it is reasonable to change the subjective will to consent, it means that the other party voluntarily obeys one's orders or requests. As for what exactly affected their subjective will, then it may only be known to the affected party after the skill is activated. At this time, Gao Qiang's vision also returned to normal. After time flowed again, the university finally collapsed completely with a loud explosion. Gao Yuan must not be able to swallow this breath, Gao Qiang thought subconsciously. But suddenly remembered something. If there is nothing to do on weekdays, Gao Yuan, you should live in the university, right? Did the university scholar also go with the university? Before Gao Qiang thought more, the prompts of the war game came one after another. Due to the destruction of the university, your territory type is officially changed to Awakening Empire. Glorious for thousands of years, peaches and plums all over the world. If you violate it, you will lose reason, and if you touch it, you will lose power. The destruction of the university is like a beacon tower, reflected in the eyes of the princes. Now that etiquette and law are no longer in place, the law of nature is about to fall. The sage said, mountains, rivers, sun, and moon, should be taken by those who are capable. The rules of this game have been triggered, the world is in turmoil. The world is in turmoil, all clans have obtained unconditional war reasons, and forced declarations of war no longer affect morale and war weariness at the same time. All clans have a chance to declare war on lords weaker than themselves. At this time, countless lords of the Wuji League who were preparing to besiege Gaoqiang received similar declarations of war. The Qingshan City Li family declares war on you, the reason for the declaration of war, annexation of sovereignty. The Qingshan City Lord's Mansion declares war on you, the reason for the declaration of war, annexation of sovereignty. Countless declarations of war without warning fell on the heads of many lords of the Wuji League. After the destruction of the university, under the rules of the world in turmoil, the aristocratic families in various places seem to have torn off their once hypocritical faces. Nowadays, declarations of war no longer need to comply with legislation. The law of the jungle became the main theme of Dao in an instant, and almost every aristocratic family was frantically swallowing up the surrounding weak forces. In just half a day, there were countless large and small interest groups emerging in the Dao dynasty. Among them, the county governors and prefects in various places were the most numerous. If you go to the side hall of Gongmenkan in the palace to check, you will find that the few remaining candles that had not been extinguished were also extinguished at this moment. When the rule of world turmoil appeared, the control of Wuji League over Dao dynasty was directly reduced to the freezing point. But it was not only Wuji League. The Ji family, far away in the bitter cold land, also suffered the same treatment. Ji Lenjiao, are you okay over there? These indigenous families are like possessed by evil spirits now. All the families, big and small, have declared war on us. By the way, do you want to come and join us? I wanted to help you, but my elder sister and the others are under a lot of pressure now, so you have to find a way to come here by yourself. By the way, here's the map of the Dao Empire. If you have that flying vehicle, you should be able to escape from the prosperous areas of the dynasty by yourself, right? Looking at the long string of messages sent by Ji Lenjiao, Gao Qiang touched his nose with a smile. He has no time to care about himself even though he can't take care of himself. It can only be said that Ji Lenjiao is still protected too well by his brothers and sisters. But in this case, after the turmoil in the world, his treatment seems to be different from that of others. Gao Qiang looked at the prompt messages that kept popping up. The Lord of Zhangwu City has secretly pledged allegiance to you. The General of Chiun Pass has secretly pledged allegiance to you. At the moment when other lords were being declared war on crazily, Gao Qiang received the secret allegiance of a large number of dignitaries from all over the country. The turmoil in the world seemed to have become an opportunity. An opportunity to detonate these people who secretly pledged allegiance to him. The hidden emperor of Dao was really more than just the compliment that Jin Daqin gave him at the beginning. Gao Qiang had no doubt that at this moment, as long as he raised his arm, he would be able to call for 100 responses from all over Dao, and at least 30% of the aristocratic families would support him as the orthodox of Dao. Crunch. The sound of chewing food came from the side, interrupting Gao Qiang's thoughts. Gao Qiang looked at his side with dissatisfaction. Sasha was chewing the fried rice crust that Zhulo had just made piece by piece. From time to time, she also gave a piece to He Tuanzi. How could she be like this at such a serious moment? Give me some too. Gao Qiang stretched out his hand. After receiving some snacks from Sasha, Gao Qiang continued to shrink in the room to observe the situation outside. Half a day had passed, and the Fire Eagle warriors still had not achieved any effective results inside the Gao family. It would be better to say that the surprise attack to blow up the university at the beginning has become the only highlight of these Fire Eagle warriors. After the Gao family's servants reacted, a large number of rotary machine guns were brought to the battlefield, instantly reversing the original unfavorable situation. Suddenly, Gao Qiang's eyes lit up. Bai Hexio happened to pass by the house where Gao Qiang was hiding with a gun. Isn't this a good opportunity to experiment with new initiatives? Hey, Xiao Bai. Gao Qiang suddenly jumped out of the door, scaring Bai Hexio, who was resisting the Fire Eagle warriors. Lord, why are you here? Xiao Bai's face twitched. If I had known you were here, I wouldn't have come. How sad it is to say that. Gao Qiang bent down and hooked his hand around Bai Hexio's shoulder. Bang! After a gunshot, a Fire Eagle warrior approaching was killed, and Bai Hexio's eyes continued to focus on Gao Qiang. From the look Gao Qiang gave Xiao Beishu, he always felt a chill. Wait. The Lord called him Xiao Bai, could it be that he really regarded him as a guinea pig? Lord of all people, am I the only one in the fallen empire? Author, Mishita Di. Chapter 294. Feeling bad subconsciously, Bai Hexio wanted to escape. But Gao Qiang was still one step faster. Releasing the active ability Jiao Zhao, Gao Qiang's mouth curled up slightly. Xiao Bai, go have a baby. Huh. Bai Hexio was stunned and stared at Gao Qiang in disbelief. After a long while, Bai Hexio escaped from Gao Qiang's palm like a frightened rabbit and ran away. Gao Qiang even heard Bai Hexio scream from afar. No way. The ability failed to activate? Gao Qiang scratched his head and looked at the personal interface. Jiao Zhao's 10 accumulated momentum marks in this game were not consumed, and it was obvious that Jiao Zhao did not activate successfully. At this time, a Fire Eagle warrior jetted down to Gao Qiang's side. Gao Qiang pointed directly at the other party, "You go to hell." Instantly, the Fire Eagle warrior's face turned pale, and his hands couldn't help shaking. If this is the order of Lord Shangguan. Although hesitant, the other party still did not disobey Gao Qiang's order. Instead, he reloaded the bomb in his hand to his back, then took out a rapier from his back and stabbed it into his heart fiercely. Boom! With the death of the Fire Eagle warrior, the explosion also followed. The blood from the explosion covered Gao Qiang's face. Slowly wiped the blood off. Gao Qiang looked at his personal panel thoughtfully. There were only 9 accumulated momentum marks left, and the order to the Fire Eagle warrior to commit suicide just consumed 1. Since it is possible to let the Fire Eagle warrior commit suicide, why can't Xiao Bai have a child? Gao Qiang scratched his head. Is it because Bai Hexio's resistance to him is too strong and his strength is much higher than his own? After realizing this, Gao Qiang's face fell. Originally, I wanted to rely on this ability to take more people out in future war games. As a result, it seems that if I want to command Bai Hexio and others, I have to improve my strength first. Well, is there a possibility that Xiao Bai is a boy? Sasha's curious voice came from behind Gao Qiang, seemingly revealing the truth. Impossible, absolutely impossible. Gao Qiang waved his hand and refuted firmly. Xiao Bai can find a wife. Just when the two were about to study why Xiao Bai couldn't have a baby. Suddenly, I felt the ground shaking under my feet. After reacting, Gao Qiang's eyes quickly swept around. The Fire Eagle warriors in the sky also stopped their actions at this moment, and their eyes all looked in one direction. It seemed that they saw something terrifying. Boom boom. The arc of the ground shaking became larger and larger. Until the wreckage of the original university, the ground sank downwards. An extremely huge black shadow broke through the wreckage on the surface, slowly rose from the ground, and blocked the sunlight above everyone's head. It was a huge airship that could not be compared with 20 Tianzhous combined. Could Gao Yuan still be alive? As expected, Gao Yuan's old voice came from the sky. You all really gave me a surprising gift for your apprenticeship. Anyone could hear the gnashing of teeth in Gao Yuan's tone at this moment. He was obviously very unhappy about the bombing of the university. At this time, Gao Qiang received a reminder of a war game. Our experimental war unit, the Air Behemoth, has arrived on the battlefield. Air Behemoth, experimental. Introduction: we filled the fragile balloon with inert gas and steel frames. Now even fire and explosion can't hurt us at all. At the same time, we made it stronger, better, and bigger. Toughness, 70 × 30. Features: Ironstone Fortress, Behemoth Unit, Ground Unit Fear, Firepower, War Factory. War Factory: our factory is ourselves. The Air Behemoth produces recorded equipment at fixed intervals. The current output rate is Tianzhou x1 per hour, Tongguan Yangshi x1 per 6 hours. Just then, Gao Yuan's voice continued to come from the sky. Since you have already presented me with the gift of apprenticeship, then this first lesson, I will teach you what it means to respect teachers. After that, a series of black muzzles appeared from the bottom of the giant beast in the sky, aiming at the Fire Eagle warrior in the air. The next moment, shells fell like raindrops, and the whole sky was covered with dense rain of bullets. Quick retreat! The Fire Eagle warrior who reacted shouted loudly. Now that the university has been destroyed, their primary task has been completed, and it doesn't matter whether the Gao family is destroyed or not. The most important point is that the flying height of the giant beast in the sky has exceeded the limit of the Fire Eagle warrior. If they stay here, they will be living targets and can only make meaningless sacrifices. However, before the words were halfway through, the speaker was torn into pieces by the terrifying firepower in the sky. After a round of attacks, the smell of gunpowder covered the entire Gao family, and even the ground was covered with dense bullet marks. And the Fire Eagle warriors, who were originally overwhelming, after rounds of explosions, not even a complete corpse was left. In the command room of the giant beast in the sky, Gao Yuan snorted coldly. It seems that my reasoning is better. Listening to the noise that had gradually subsided, Shang Guanhongcheng seemed to understand something. Did they fail? If the Fire Eagle warriors succeeded in taking down the Gao family, the noise would never be so quiet. However, he successfully destroyed the university and replaced one of Gao Qiang's victory conditions, so he didn't lose much this time. As for the soldiers, as the Grand Marshal of this dynasty, he enjoyed 1000% of the soldiers' training speed. He could afford the loss of a few tens of thousands of soldiers. But now the soldiers he brought have been killed or injured, and there is no point in staying. With a wave of his hand, Shang Guanhongcheng's figure disappeared from the wall of Zhaohuang city. Not long after the dust settled, Zhuluo just walked out of the kitchen with food. Looking at the mess in the Gao family now, he blinked. So, what did you do during this period of time? Although the main buildings were not damaged. But the Gao family compound now is obviously not suitable for everyone to live in. After reacting, the group was silent for a long time. Lian Qian walked out of the crowd with her servants, looking meaningfully at the devastated ground. Perhaps, we were too easygoing in the past. Since they think our easygoingness is not worth cherishing, then we'll just join them in the chaos. Waving her folding fan, Lian Qian looked at Gao Qiang. Lord, what are you going to do next? Me. Seeing that everyone's eyes were all on him at the moment, Gao Qiang also understood what everyone was thinking. It was obvious. Those who offended them must pay the price. Lord of all people, am I the only one in the fallen empire? Author, Mi Shida Di. Chapter 295. In addition to the aerial behemoths opened by Gao Yuan, the recruitment options for the fallen empire have also been unlocked. Gao Qiang immediately checked what top-level soldiers he could recruit in this war game. The soldier interface was as complicated as usual, dazzling. But after discarding most of the unnecessary soldiers, Gao Qiang still selected 2 soldiers that were very suitable for dealing with the current situation. New Army. Introduction: derivation, precipitation, and innovation. We are never afraid of unknown things. Brand new things will definitely bring brand new changes and make us stronger. We firmly believe in this. Training requirements, 1 leader. Training time, none. Features, experimental equipment, thirst for innovation, and oppression of the times. Experimental equipment, after the new army is trained, it will come with experimental weapons and equipment that surpass this game by an era and cannot be repaired. Thirst for innovation, the new army advocates unknown new things, and the speed of mastering new skills increases by 1000%, and the speed of mastering old skills decreases by 80%. Era oppression, when the new army enters the battlefield, the enemy's combat effectiveness will be reduced by half for every era in which the equipment used by the enemy is lower than that of the new army. In Gao Qiang's view, the new army is a completely supermodel and shameless existence. Not only does it have weapons and equipment that are 1 era higher than the upper limit of the technology tree, it can also forcibly reduce the combat effectiveness of enemy troops with inferior equipment. As long as Gao Qiang crushes the enemy in terms of era, the opponent's combat effectiveness can only be cut in half, just erasing the bonus advantage of Shangguan Hongqin's 6 Kingdoms General Seal. As for the other type of soldiers selected by Gao Qiang, it also restrains Shangguan Hongqin, but it is the opposite of the new army. Clan Protection Army. Introduction: the country is so big that it is endless, and the family is so big that it is only 3 feet square. However, a square of 3 feet can also collapse a 10,000-foot dangerous building. Characteristics: Imperial power immunity, mental control immunity, fight to the death, water can overturn a boat, and the building will collapse. Imperial power immunity, tokens, jade seals, edicts and other strange objects or miracles are ineffective against this type of soldiers. Water can overturn a boat. When this type of soldier enters the battlefield, if the enemy has the Minister's Way system and the bonus from the Minister's Way system is higher than this type of soldier, the attribute bonuses of the 2 armies will be swapped. The building will collapse. When this type of soldier enters the battlefield, if the enemy has the Minister's Way system, the enemy's combat effectiveness will be reduced by 50%. Unlike the new army, the Clan Guard army is selected with high strength and is completely targeted at the army of the Minister's Way system. Among them, the water can overturn a boat alone can make the lords of the Wuji League, who are kings and princes in the Minister's Way system, uncomfortable for a long time. No matter how much the opponent is blessed by the Minister's Way system. As long as the blessing is higher than the Clan Guard army, the attribute bonus will be forcibly swapped. And after the swap, they will have to face a 50% combat effectiveness reduction. If we also count the era oppression, that the new army reduces the combat effectiveness by 1 time. This wave, even if the lords of the Wuji League have strong enough soldiers to wear bronze figurines on their bodies, they will be reduced to muggles. Thinking of this, Gao Qiang simply confirmed the training. From the total of just over 100,000 people, 50,000 people were trained as the new army and the Clan Protection Army. The training did not take any time at all. Soon, 2 distinct armies appeared in front of Gao Qiang. Among them, the Clan Protection Army was led by Lian Qian, whose weapons were mainly cold weapons, good at using battle formations, but not equipped with any firearms. The new army was fully equipped with automatic firearms, led by Bai Hexiu, whose eyes kept dodging. 100,000 people is not a lot, but it is not a small amount either. Now they are all crowded in such a small place as the Gao family compound. Standing in front of Gao Qiang, it gives people a feeling of endless space. Gao family actually hid so many private soldiers. Standing aside, Wu Mei, who had not spoken for a long time, had a slight movement of her eyes at this moment. She had seen 100,000 people before. With the fierce atmosphere of the Great Wu dynasty, an army of 100,000 people was not even a big deal. But more than 100,000 private soldiers are too many for a local family. After all, even the imperial guards in the palace do not have this number. Whose good person can do such a thing? But it doesn't matter. She doesn't care about these things now, she just wants to see Grand Marshal Chai Hong buried with Ling Yanning as soon as possible. Lord. At this time, Lian Qian presented a map. The mountains and rivers of Dao are all in this map. Gao Qiang took the map and took a look. According to his current identity as a traitor, most of the officers and soldiers in various places are enemies of him. If he wants to go to the palace again, he can only kill his way through. At this time, there was a sound of bones clicking behind Gao Qiang. The undead lord who did not leave came over with Lucia in his arms, and his lower jaw opened and closed. Where did the Supreme send the information? The Wuji League has started to move. At present, most of the princes and nobles of the Wuji League have withdrawn from their garrisons and gathered in Lufeng Valley in front of the imperial city. Lufeng Valley? Gao Qiang's eyes moved slightly. Speaking of which, after the Fire Eagle warriors died, Shang Guanhong Cheng was not seen. Presumably, after seeing the existence of the giant beast in the sky, he was ready to fight a decisive battle with him. The Supreme Lord wants to tell you that although the undead have not redeveloped, he can come to help if you need him in this decisive battle. No need. Gao Qiang shook his head. Compared to these undead that may affect his morale, he has allies everywhere in this war game. Since the Gao family compound is no longer suitable for living and the war weapons have been pulled out, now is the time to enter the palace openly. And this time, he has 100,000 troops following him. Seeing that Gao Qiang did not ask for the Supreme's assistance, the undead lord did not say much. Anyway, he was not familiar with the Supreme, and he was just passing on a message on his behalf. But this reminded Gao Qiang. The people in the bitter cold land seemed to be very disrespectful to him, which was an unstable factor. Declaring war on the Ji family was one aspect, and on the other hand, at a time when people everywhere were secretly loyal to him, no one in the bitter cold land took the initiative to pledge allegiance. It seems that the influence of the Wuji League is deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. In this case, Gao Qiang opened the interference interface and dragged all the only 20 sky boats up. At present, there are aerial giants that can produce sky boats here, and sky boats are not a rare thing for Gao Qiang. At this time, in the small city where the Ji family is located, Ji Lingxian looked at the smoke outside the city with a serious face. After the chaos, the county governor seemed to have incorporated many of the border troops of the Dao dynasty, and their combat effectiveness increased several times. Ji Lingxian even saw no less than 10 rams carrying bronze warriors. My younger sister Ji Lenjiao is not good at strategy, and I can only see that she is under a lot of pressure. But in fact, Ji Lingxian knows what the Ji family is like now. It's hard to protect yourself. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Lord of all people, am I the only one in the fallen empire? Author, Mi Shida Di. Chapter 296. Thinking of this, Ji Lingxian looked at Ji Shun. Third brother, take the opportunity to take my little sister out of here later. With your vertical and horizontal approach, it shouldn't be difficult to do this. Ji Shun frowned when he heard Ji Lingxian say this. Sister, do you want me to run away from the battlefield? What about you and the second sister? Enough. Ji Lingxian opened her mouth and scolded Ji Shun. I have the 5th level Valkyrie path, and Tsinghua University also has a large number of soldiers and horses to protect me. What does my little sister have? Are you going to watch my little sister die here? I know. Ji Shun gritted his teeth, turned around and walked towards the city. However, just as he moved, Ji Shun stopped. Seeing this, Ji Lingxian said angrily, do you still want me to kneel down and beg you to take my little sister away? No, it's not. Ji Shun's tone was a bit stuttering. Sister, Please look back. Listening to Ji Shun's words, Ji Lingxian frowned and looked into the city. Wait, is that the little sister? Next to Ji Lenjiao, she saw 20 dock sky boats, blocking her in the middle. The sudden arrival of Tianzhou also caught Ji Lenjiao a little unprepared. It took a while before Ji Lenjiao realized what he was doing. He stretched out his hand and groped towards Tianzhou, looking left and right, as if he were looking at a novel toy. It was as if I could feel the gaze of my brothers and sisters. Ji Lenjiao turned around excitedly and waved to the two of them. Seeing this, Ji Lingxian no longer hesitated, walked directly down the city wall, and ran quickly to Ji Lenjiao's side. Where did you come from these things? Ji Lingxian asked directly. She has not forgotten that Tianzhou has the power to compete with the bronze warriors. It is obvious that the Ji family does not have the skills to make Tianzhou. Not only did the Ji family not have it, but the military recruitment rights rented by Ji Qinghua did not include Tianzhou as an option. It was given by Gao Qiang. Ji Lenjiao blinked. Is it him? Ji Lingxian was still impressed by the guests Ji Bixian was going to entertain. It's just that the other party was separated from them when they entered this war game, and there was no chance of reunion during this period. But Gao Qiang's previous ability to produce a steward and a sky boat, and also revealed the news of having a miraculous building, was enough to shock her. Now this has taken out 20 more sky boats. Why, Zhaoqiang Tianzhou is not wholesale. How long have we entered this war game? It is a miracle building, a senior affairs officer, and Tianzhou. Didn't he make the war game better? Ji Lingxian fell into a brainstorm. Ji Lenjiao, on the other hand, carefully looked at the eldest sister whose expression was constantly changing. Sister, are you sick? Ji Lingxian regained consciousness after hearing Ji Lenjiao's call. His eyes moved slightly, then he shook his head, with a smile on his lips. No, I'm fine. Even now, the Ji family is fine too. Little sister, let me borrow your sky boat. Without waiting for Ji Lenjiao's consent, Ji Lenjiao called Ji Qinghua directly and ordered him to recruit technical troops on the spot. Because the operation of Tianzhou is so simple, it can be used easily without the need for advanced technical arms. Soon, 20 sky boats slowly took off. The police officers rushing outside the city also gradually approached the city wall. Sir Tenwenel, with your wise guidance, wouldn't it be easy to capture this little traitor? An official in official uniform complimented the county governor. Tenwenel nodded noncommittally, but the smile on his face could not be concealed. Ever since the Dao dynasty took over the bitter cold land belonging to the frost giants 100 years ago, those officers and soldiers have lived here ever since. As the governor of a bitter cold land, he is naturally a descendant of Dao's founding achievements. And even so, he almost died on the land conquered by his ancestors. It was simply a shame and a great humiliation. Only with the blood of this outsider can the damage he suffered mentally be washed away. Attack! Tenwenel waved his hand, and the rush car carrying the bronze warriors hit the city wall directly. The gate of this city is too small to accommodate the bronze warriors passing by. However, it can be seen from now on that this outsider is just a low-level person. Even if the Ji family can destroy the car that hits the city wall, the bronze warriors inside it will start killing them immediately. They will definitely win this war. My lord, my lord. An anxious voice sounded in Tenwenel's ears, pulling Tenwenel out of his daydream. What's the matter? Tenwenel glanced at the other party dissatisfied, as if asking the other party to give him an explanation. Look at the sky. After hearing what his subordinates said, Tenwenel subconsciously glanced at the sky. Immediately, his pupils shrank sharply. 20 sky boats flew in a line from the sky. He will never forget this thing. It was the sudden appearance of a sky boat that prevented him from leaving the leader of the outsiders behind. Now it was because he was afraid of Tianzhou that he chose to collect 10 bronze warriors from the border army before taking action. when the situation turned out to be great. Tell him, there are 20 boats on the other side of the sky. Under everyone's gaze, Tianzhou flew towards the slowly moving car. Relying on the advantage of flying high enough and no one could attack him, he threw bombs directly downward. 1, 2, 3. Every explosion of the bomb seemed to explode in Teng Wenl's heart, but he was helpless. At this moment, the only crossbow in his hand that had enough attack range to hit Tianzhou could not be raised that high. Therefore, he could only watch his bronze warriors being blown into pieces, and then watch Tianzhou go away. There was silence on the field. The border troops of the bitter cold land had no means of dealing with the air. When Dao attacked the bitter cold land at the beginning of the founding of the country, in order to restrain the frost giants, they brought some anti-large equipment. As for anti-aircraft, who would bring that thing? Tianzhou's one dispatch blew up all 10 bronze warriors. How can this city be attacked and this battle be fought? If Teng Wenl was a lord, he would find that the war weariness of his soldiers was rapidly rising. Sometimes, what is more frustrating than death is that the enemy is right in front of you, but he can blow you up at will, and you are helpless against him. Mr. County Governor, how about we withdraw? Some officials even stood up and persuaded him earnestly. The other party is a villain who will do anything to get what he wants. You are worth a lot of money, you really can't stay here. Teng Wenl gritted his teeth, as if he was struggling in his heart. After an action of Tianzhou, Ji Lingxian also found out that this thing is a complete dimensionality reduction attack on the bitter cold land. However, Gao Qiang gave such a magic weapon to the Ji family, so he must have had a very difficult life in the prosperous area of the dynasty, right? Lord of all people, am I the only one in the fallen empire? Author, Mi Shi De. Chapter 297. Ha ha ha, welcome to the local area, Mr. Gao, I am really honored. Another city opened the gate to welcome Gao Qiang in. Since the withdrawal of the princes of the Wuji League, many clans who secretly pledged allegiance have completely torn off their disguises. Except for a small number of passes that resisted by force, they were smashed to pieces by the bronze figurines dropped into the pass by the giant beasts in the sky. Most cities simply implemented a non-resistance policy when they saw Gao Qiang. Not only did they welcome Gao Qiang and his soldiers into the city, but they also held a banquet with good wine and meat. Wu Mei felt uncomfortable. When she had just become emperor and was touring the 4 directions, she had never seen these city lords set such a sumptuous banquet for her. Oh, so your majesty is here too. At this time, the city lord seemed to have just noticed Wu Mei's existence and hurriedly bowed. I have seen your majesty, long live your majesty, long live your majesty, long live your majesty. As a 5th rank official of Dao, he usually has no chance to meet Wu Mei. However, after the ceremony, the city lord quickly walked to Gao Qiang's side and whispered, I didn't expect that your majesty would stand with the head of the Gao family. It seems that the traitors must have occupied the palace, forcing your majesty to leave the palace for help. Why doesn't the head of the Gao family obey the emperor to command the disobedient, and summon the people of ambition in the world to fight against the traitors and rebels in the imperial city? Gao Qiang looked at the 4 big words traitors and rebels written on his ministerial panel, and his mouth couldn't help but twitch. In fact, this is not the first city lord who suggested this to him. Almost every city lord he met along the way was like this. Without even asking Wu Mei's opinion, he confirmed that the people in the imperial city were traitors and rebels. One by one, they said that they obeyed the emperor to command the disobedient. What you can think of, can't others think of it? Gao Qiang asked back. Hearing Gao Qiang's words, the city lord was stunned. What does the head of the Gao family mean? Others have spread it. Soon, the princes of various places will rise up and surround and kill the rebellious ministers in Lufeng Valley. Hearing this, the city lord was overjoyed and hurriedly bowed to Gao Qiang. Then I would like to congratulate the head of the Gao family on his great victory. Calling me as a minister now? Gao Qiang was full of black lines, always feeling that the city lord had misunderstood something. But Jasha had already come over with a lot of food. Lord, come and try the special food here, Gilug, and the freshly squeezed juice is also delicious. Just when Gao Qiang was having a banquet every 3 steps and a seat every 5 steps. In Lufeng Valley, a secret basement has been arranged for many lords of the Wuji League to arrange tactics. Among them, the Grand Marshal Shang Guanhongcheng sat in the main seat, frowning and looking at the war panel. Something is wrong, 8 or 9 out of 10. At present, Gao Qiang has not directly declared war on the Lord of the Wuji League. But on the war panel, the enemies of Wuji League are increasing rapidly. Even some noble families that Shang Guanhongcheng had never heard of joined the war against Wuji League. The enemy list was so long that he couldn't even finish it. If it weren't for this, he didn't know that in the world controlled by Wuji League, there were so many noble families hidden among the natives. Now the world is in turmoil, and these noble families can declare war on the lords without any excuse. Shang Guanhongcheng also considered this at the beginning, and in order to avoid conflict with the other party, he withdrew all the princes of Wuji League back to the imperial city. But he never thought that those guys would bite Wuji League to death like mad dogs. Now the area of the dynasty and Lufeng Valley has been vaguely surrounded. That, Lord Shangguan. At this time, a lord of Wuji League raised his hand weakly on the seat below and asked, "Why are you the only agent of the alliance who is in this war world?" Hearing this, many lords who were still talking in low voices fell silent and looked at Shang Guanhongcheng. Who knew that Shang Guanhongcheng just responded with a seemingly nonchalant sentence, "Oh, they are all dead." What? Hearing that 2 of the 3 dukes in the palace had died, some lords changed their faces and began to panic. Are our enemies so strong this time? Could it be that the enemies who are not on good terms with our Wuji League have attacked us? Why don't we ask for help from the alliance? We can't hold on for long. Listening to the high-sounding speeches of these defeatist counselors, Shang Guanhongcheng had already covered his forehead with a headache, and seemed to be gritting his teeth. If Gongmenken was still there, he would not have to deal with these guys at all. With the Wuji League developing this world first, most of these lords were lazy and had nothing to do after entering this world. After decades of doing the same thing, who knows how many useless people have been raised. Shang Guanhongcheng even suspected that some of them had forgotten their own lord path. "Shut up!" Shang Guanhongcheng shouted, frightening all the lords. Looking down coldly, Shang Guanhongcheng said word by word. "Others are dead, but I am still alive, right?" Only then did they realize that the person sitting in the main seat was Shang Guanhongcheng, the Grand Marshal of the 3 lords in the palace. He was also an agent arranged by the Wuji League in this war game. It was just that Shang Guanhongcheng was obsessed with research and rarely met with the lords, so he was subconsciously ignored by the lords. After reacting, many lords of the Wuji League hurried to make amends and complimented Shang Guanhongcheng, "Your Excellency is right. That hostile villain is not even as good as a 3-year-old child in front of you, and can be defeated with a snap of your fingers." Listening to this sudden change of tone, looking at the lords like children learning to speak in the classroom, Shang Guanhongcheng just felt tired. If he had an 80% chance of winning against Gao Qiang before, now with this group of people, he can only say that he has less than 50%. At that time, Gongmenken actually relied on this group of trash to achieve his goal, which made Shang Guanhongcheng have to sigh that Gongmenken has not been easy over the years. Unfortunately, he can't learn Gongmenken's methods, and he doesn't need to learn them. Gently stroking the 6 kingdom seal on his waist, Shang Guanhongcheng directly addressed the lords of the Wuji League below. "I have brought you all here today for one thing. Hand over all your soldiers to me." This. The lords below looked at each other in bewilderment. Normally, soldiers are the same as the subjects of the lords. One has to use some means to transfer the subjects recruited by one person to others and get the bonus from them. There are many lords of the Wuji League present, and some of them happen to be proficient in this method. However, Shang Guanhongcheng wanted all of them in one breath. Even if he is the agent of this war game, is his appetite a little too big? Lord of all people, am I the only one in the fallen empire? Author, Mi Shida Di. Chapter 298. Why, you don't want to? Shang Guanhongcheng frowned. A lord below immediately responded, it's not that I don't want to, but I have another question. If we hand over all the soldiers in our hands to you, how can we guarantee our safety? The smarter the person, the more afraid of death. Except for some people who attribute the great power to themselves, most people's methods are to cooperate with the selection of the people and soldiers. Once all the soldiers are lost, some of them will be no different from a hedgehog with its thorns pulled out. Except for a little meat, anyone can take a bite. Do you think so too? Shang Guanhongcheng glanced at the others. Sure enough, most of the people present also held this attitude. Shang Guanhongcheng fell into silence. Before Gongmenken died, wasn't he the same? In that case, those who are willing to hand over the soldiers will stay, and the others will leave. Hearing this, the lord who spoke first turned around and left without hesitation. Some of the lords hesitated for a moment and followed him. And this part of the lords who left was as much as half of them. However, no one noticed that the lord who spoke first quickly walked into a corner after leaving Shang Guanhongcheng. He looked around and confirmed that there was no one around before showing a wicked smile. Then his palm slid across his face, easily tearing off a human face, revealing the bones underneath. He was one of the cotters of the great cemetery at the time, and was thrown into this war world because of the death of Gongxing Jian. But no one could have imagined that he, a lord of the undead, could quietly blend into the Wuji League. This was thanks to his personal talent, Ghost. Ghost. Effect: you can exchange identities with a foreign lord with skin if the other party agrees, and temporarily inherit all the other party's relationships, including the friend list. This consent does not require the other party to agree with you in his heart. Even if it is just verbal consent, it is enough for him to exchange identities. Suddenly, his friend list moved slightly, and the Supreme's message came. Ghost, are you still staying in the Wuji League? Seeing this message, Ghost couldn't help but show obvious pride on his skull. Of course, Supreme. I have successfully disrupted Shang Guanhongcheng's plan. Now half of the lords in the Wuji League are unwilling to hand over their military power. I didn't come to you to talk about this, the Supreme interrupted his complacency directly. At this moment, Ghost suddenly felt the ground above his head shaking violently, and sand and soil kept falling in the basement. What happened? Before Ghost thought about it, the Supreme's message continued to come. Alas, it's too late, you can only wish you good luck. What do you mean by wishing you good luck? Ghost didn't understand what the Supreme meant for a while. Could it be that his identity was discovered by the Wuji League? But this doesn't make sense. In the short time that Ghost was thinking, the shaking above the ground became more and more serious. Until there was a loud bang, the soil layer above Ghost's head collapsed. When Gaimei came out of the soil again, it was already half an hour later. Put, put, put. After finally getting out of the ground, Gaimei took off his skull and cleaned up the dirt. The next moment, seeing the situation in Lufeng Valley, Gaimei was stunned. Did the noble family launch a surprise attack on Wuji League? No, it was not the case at all. A huge airship was seen floating over everyone's heads, and countless bombs were thrown from the bottom of the airship, setting off rounds of explosions in Lufeng Valley. There were also hundreds of sky boats around the airship, so dense that people couldn't help but feel numb when they saw it. But that's not all. Because soon, Gaimei saw the grenade compartment under the huge airship open. One after another, bronze figurines fell to the ground like dumplings, and instantly set off a bloody storm in the defense line originally arranged by Wiji League. The natural barrier used to defend against the outside world now seems to have become a cage for the soldiers. For a moment, shouts, explosions, wailing and other sounds mixed in Lufeng Valley. The gunpowder smoke caused by the explosion filled the valley. The valley that was still beautiful earlier has now completely become a scene of hell on earth. After throwing the bomb, Gao Yuan stroked his goatee and calmly glanced at the valley below where the blazing fire was burning. Then he waved his hand behind him. The driver beside him understood. The first round of suppression is completed, our aerial beast is ready to leave the battlefield. The order was issued. Then the aerial beast and hundreds of sky boats continued to fly forward, and soon disappeared above Lufeng Valley, as if they had never been there. And after the aerial beast disappeared for a long time, Gai Mei saw Shang Guanhongcheng with a gloomy face dug out from the ground. Shang Guanhongcheng faced the current situation in Lufeng Valley with an ugly face. A sudden round of bombing washed the ground, making many units of the Wiji League useless. Even before the giant beast in the sky left, it left behind many bronze warriors, which became the trouble that Shang Guanhongcheng had to solve. Shang Guan. Seeing Shang Guanhongcheng appear, many lords who came to the outside world in advance seemed to have found their backbone, and hurriedly led their people to gather around Shang Guanhongcheng. And this also triggered a chain reaction. Locked by the enemy-seeking mechanism of the bronze warriors, these lords gathered around Shang Guanhongcheng and at the same time brought a bronze warrior over. A bunch of trash. Shang Guanhongcheng finally took action. He took out a machine bell from his pocket and shook it slightly in Shang Guanhongcheng's hand. The next moment, several terrifying bronze figures equipped with 8 machine arms emerged from the ground. There was a time when there was no recycling technology. The 3 princes in the palace have considered how to continue to enhance their own combat power and expand the dominance advantage of the Wiji alliance when the technology tree points are full. Therefore, each of them has written articles on the bronze warriors. But it is different from the other 2 Sangong. Shang Guanhongcheng did not choose to add large-scale wonders to the bronze warriors, but chose to improve the mechanical bodies of the bronze warriors. 8-armed Yama is the new name given by Shang Guanhongcheng to these improved bronze figurine warriors. Each of the 8 arms of these bronze warriors is equipped with a heavy sword without an edge. Now we are facing the encirclement and suppression by a large number of bronze warriors. I saw the 8-armed Yama holding the heavy sword flat in front of him and spinning it like a top. After spinning, the 8-armed Yama only came into contact with other bronze warriors, and there were waves of metal collisions. Looking over again, the besieged bronze warriors had been knocked into pieces by the 8-armed Yama. There was a burst of cheers from the Wiji alliance camp. But Shang Guanhongcheng was not happy about this. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Lord of all people, am I the only one in the fallen empire? Author, Mi Shida Di. Chapter 299. Each of the 8-armed Yamas was built by himself, so he could receive the blessing of the general seals of the 6 kingdoms in his hands. This is something other bronze figurines in the Dao dynasty could not do. Therefore, these 8-armed Yamas should have appeared as his trump card. According to Shang Guanhongcheng's original plan. Only when the battle situation becomes anxious will these 8-armed Yamas be released and deal the most painful blow to the enemy. But now, he was forced out in advance. A trump card that is seen by others is not a trump card. Seeing that Shang Guanhongcheng looked so ugly, the complimenting voices around him gradually became lowered. Many of the people present were fine people, and they could not say that they could not understand Shang Guanhongcheng's mood at the moment. Until someone suggested in a low voice. Sir Shang Guan, I have thought about it and it is most appropriate to leave the soldiers in my hands to your command. As soon as this statement came out, The other lords who had not planned to hand over their soldiers looked at each other and nodded in unison. Now Lufeng Valley has been bombed to a state of disarray. Only after the giant beast in the sky flew over their heads did they realize that they should unite. They never want to experience the powerless feeling of shivering under a giant thing again. So, now you are willing to transfer all the soldiers into my hands. Seeing that these lords suddenly became aware of current affairs, Shang Guanhongchen's face finally looked much better. If these lords of the Promise Alliance could be united. So it is not unacceptable to expose a trump card or something. It is their honor to serve you, sir, a lord said immediately. Soon, with the cooperation of many lords, all the existing forces of the Wuji Alliance were gathered into the hands of Shang Guanhongchen. Except for some lords who led troops to guard the imperial city. At present, Shang Guanhongchen can mobilize millions of troops. With the blessing of the general seals of the Six Kingdoms, the physical fitness of these soldiers has increased visibly. Even the ranger units that originally wore leather armor can now carry heavy armor with one hand and walk quickly. It is conceivable that once they enter the frontal battlefield, these soldiers will burst out with terrible fighting power. Although there are only 1 million in number, they will not show weakness even against an army of tens of millions. Seeing this change, Guimei couldn't help but click his tongue. Well, he doesn't have a tongue at all. In order to avoid being spotted, Guimei immediately handed over the human soldiers in his hands to Shang Guanhongchen. Now look at the terrifying bonuses these soldiers have received. The ghost was a little suspicious for a moment. Even if the undead lords can develop again, they can pile up the skeleton warriors to the limit. Can they really fight against Shang Guanhongchen, who has the seal of the Six Nations? And at the same time Shang Guanhongchen was reorganizing his troops. Troops from aristocratic families who came from various places also began to camp near Lufeng Valley. Flags with different characters written on them were erected outside Lufeng Valley. If Shang Guanhongchen could get out of the valley and take a look at this moment, he would find that the entire Lufeng Valley has been surrounded by hundreds of armies. But these aristocratic families did not launch an attack immediately. On the contrary, a grand flowing banquet was set up in the largest camp among the coalition forces. Ha ha ha, I give a toast to the master of the family. The patriarch of a wealthy family stood up, smiled and toasted Gao Qiang with a glass of wine. After drinking and being slightly tipsy, he boldly asked Gao Qiang, Master Gao has both ability and political integrity, so he should be the leader of this alliance. I just don't know when family leader Gao thinks it's more appropriate to send troops to take down the traitor. After all, His Majesty is away now, and the imperial city cannot be without a king for a day. Head Gao has to make plans in advance. Gao Qiang didn't understand the meaning of the other party's words. Even if you hear it, you won't pay too much attention to it. Planning an entire huge empire is not his style. As for what the other party said, when will troops be sent out? Gao Qiang stretched out a finger and pointed at the sky. The clan leader who asked the question was obviously taken aback. What does Patriarch Gao mean? Is that we should launch an army immediately? No. Gao Qiang shook his head and looked outside the tent. We've already started. Now that we have arrived outside Lufeng Valley, we have received information from the Supreme that there are enemies in Lufeng Valley. Then there is no need to delay. Just when Gao Qiang was being dragged to dinner by many heads of aristocratic families. The two armies, the new army and the clan protector army, have already moved towards Lufeng Valley. Stop. Lian Qian waved, causing everyone behind her to stop. At present, Lufeng has just experienced an aerial attack by Gao Yuan, and it is a time of vigilance. Now that the clan guardian army is close to this distance, it is enough. Lian Qian raised her head and covered her face with a folding fan. So, let this drama end. Lord Gao Qiang declared war on the Dao dynasty. The reason for the war was, war of allegiance. Notice. All beings in the Dao dynasty who swear secret allegiance to the Wall of Size will be forced to join this war. Notice. All lords in the Dao dynasty who have the ministerial system will be forced to join this war. For a moment, Shang Guanhongcheng was not given a chance to react. Countless official positions appeared on the opposite side of Shang Guanhongcheng, and Shang Guanhongcheng's war exhaustion level also soared to 50%. Even with the blessing of the Six Kingdoms seal, the spirit on the faces of these soldiers has faded a lot. There were even explosions coming from the imperial city. Shang Guanhongcheng realized that even the imperial city, the core of the Dao dynasty, had undergone tremendous changes. When did Gao Qiang reach these places? But what can be done even if so? Shang Guanhongcheng clenched his fists. This is the world of the Wuji League. Even if all the civil and military officials in the court support Gao Qiang as the orthodox of Dao, they have to see whether the Wuji League agrees. Originally, they didn't want to tear their faces with the aristocratic families. After all, they had to maintain the stability of the Dao dynasty. But now, it's time to kick these old antiques out and replace them with a group of new people who know the current situation. With a wave of his hand, Shang Guanhongcheng directly issued an order. All troops listen to my orders. The forces of the hundreds of families outside the valley will be killed without mercy. After receiving the order, countless soldiers and horses took heavy steps and were about to kill outside the valley. Originally, Shang Guanhongcheng wanted to lure them in and surround and kill them. But judging from the airstrike just now, the news must have leaked out, so there was no need to hide any longer. Kill. The sand and dust were flying. Before many family armies could react, the army of the Wuji League had already rushed out of the valley. At this time, most of the clan leaders of the noble families were still eating in the coalition army and had no intention of commanding. With one go, the defense line of the noble family coalition army was pushed out hundreds of meters away. However, the retreat of the noble family coalition army revealed the figures of another group of people. In the sand and dust, Lian Qian held up a folding fan and led the clan protection army to block the center of the Wuji League and the coalition army like a pillar. Lord of all people, am I the only one in the fallen empire? Author, Mi Shida Di. Chapter 300. This road is blocked. Lian Qian smiled slightly. Snort. Shang Guanhongcheng snorted coldly, but did not pay attention to Lian Qian at this moment. Behind him, millions of troops were pressing forward step by step. Even the equipment of the Fire Eagle warriors has been further improved by Shang Guanhongcheng. The ejection device made of cowhide can eject the Firehawk warriors' bombs. This will greatly increase the Fire Eagle warriors' attack range and attack flexibility. As for the slightly increased recruitment price, for someone like Shang Guanhongcheng who had the resources of the entire dynasty, it was not much more expensive. And at the moment the Fire Eagle warrior took off, Shang Guanhongcheng also removed a general seal from his waist. The general seal emitted a coquettish light in Shang Guanhongcheng's hand, and from time to time it made a confused sound, sweeping towards the clan protecting army. This is the general seal from the Deep Sea dynasty in the Far East, which was the kingdom of Naga 100 years ago. The general seal of the Deep Sea dynasty naturally inherited Naga's confusing characteristics. Anyone who is an enemy of this general seal is confused by the love poison and will destroy himself without attacking. Of course, Shang Guanhongcheng could not wait that long. His purpose was only to control the clan protector army for a short period of time. Because soon, the millions of troops in his hands will tear the opponent into pieces. Located opposite Shang Guanhongcheng, Lian Qian closed her eyes slightly, feeling the impact of the Deep Sea dynasty's seal. Under the effect of the confused sound, there was obviously no sadness. Lian Qian still felt as if tears were falling from the corners of her eyes unconsciously. Really? Is this the only effect? The corners of Lian Qian's mouth quirked up. As soon as the folding fan was closed, the slightly affected expression on his face completely dissipated. The feature of imperial power immunity has taken effect. As a token-type item, the general seal of the Deep Sea Dynasty will no longer be able to affect the clan guardian army. Seeing this, Shang Guanhongcheng frowned slightly, but he didn't feel panic. At this moment, the Fire Eagle warriors have collectively thrown out the explosives, which will immediately blow the clan protector's line into pieces. At the critical moment, Lian Qian waved the folding fan forward. "Array up! Let them look up to our heights." Just hearing the sound behind Lian Qian, large steel shields were lifted up to the front of the battle line. To resist explosions, these large shields alone are not enough. Therefore, they also need some external help. Lian Qian looked towards Shang Guanhongcheng with a smile. Since ancient times, the king has not seen the king, but Shang Guanhongcheng led many soldiers and horses to appear in front of Lian Qian alone, which has violated a military taboo. Because there are no other lords of the Wuji alliance in charge of troops, no one can help him share the effects of the clan protector army at this moment. Affected by the characteristic water can capsize a boat, all your ministerial bonuses have been swapped with the Lord's strength. Currently, your ministerial bonus is none. What's this? Before the confused Shang Guanhongcheng could react. In the next moment, the soldiers of the Wuji alliance became visibly weaker, while on the contrary, the momentum of the clan protector army surged. Boom boom boom. The bombs thrown by the Fire Eagle warriors set off explosions. In Shang Guanhongcheng's eyes, the shield bearer of the clan protector army actually stood up against the explosion and moved the front line towards the Wuji alliance's defense line. Affected by the Great Sima General Seal of the Dao Dynasty, your soldiers' strength will be at 50%, their recovery will be at 80%, and their movement speed will be at 5%. Affected by the General Seal of the Yuchen Dynasty, your soldiers' defense power at 30% and recovery power at 50%. Influenced by the General Seal of the Mobei Dynasty. Far away at the coalition banquet, Gao Qiang looked at the new bonus effects that kept popping up in front of him, and knew that the clan protector army had been in direct contact with Shang Guanhongcheng's troops. I just don't know what Shang Guanhongcheng's expression will be like when he faces the top-notch soldiers he carefully selected for him. At this moment, Gao Qiang glanced at the corner of the banquet. In a corner of the banquet, Lucia, who was held by the skeleton lord, was looking at herself faintly. Hiss. Gao Qiang rubbed his chin. When making this banquet, Zhuoluo added some dragon meat. It seemed too scary to do it in front of others. Look, it scares other girls. However, it seemed that Gao Qiang noticed him. Lucia reached out and pointed outside the tent, as if she had something to say to Gao Qiang in private. Seeing this, Gao Qiang hesitated for a moment, then got up and followed him out. He was led by the skeleton lord through several circles in the coalition camp. After making sure that there were no spies from other lords, Lucia stood in front of Gao Qiang. "Is there anything wrong with you calling me out?" Gao Qiang asked Lucia directly. He wasn't afraid that Lucia would really get angry and bite him. Now after awakening, Gao Qiang has countless people at his disposal. Even if most of the new army and clan guardian army are sent out. There are also Gao Qiang patrols everywhere in the coalition camp, so Gao Qiang does not have to worry about safety. Fortunately, what Gao Qiang was worried about did not happen. After all, Lucia only had the fighting power of a large intestine and could not really bite Gao Qiang. This time when Gao Qiang was called out, he also had something serious to say. "The suppression of the Panlong Great Seal has loosened," Lucia said. "Just when you declared war on the Wuji League, the imperial city was in turmoil, and the Panlong Seal, which served as the demon-suppressing tower, also showed unusual movements at that time. This could not be the work of the Wuji League. Their interests led them to never allow anyone to destroy the suppression of the Panlong Seal." After listening to Lucia's story, Gao Qiang looked a little curious. "You mean, in this war, a third party appeared to oppose the Wiji League. So would this third party be the Supreme or the G family? There is a third party, but the other party may not be your friend. Lucia looked at Gao Qiang seriously. Logically speaking, you ate me, and we have a blood feud. I shouldn't tell you about this. But the words of the woman who died earlier gave me goosebumps. That woman? Gao Qiang recalled, and then realized that the person Lucia was talking about should be Ling Yanning, who had died together with the giant dragon under Shangguan Hengqin's crotch. And the words Ling Yanning said were exactly the words that you believe in destiny, right? Is there something wrong with that sentence? It's a big problem. Lucia put her hands behind her back, seeming a little restless. If you are a dragon and often read posts about advanced battlefields such as level 7 and level 8 in the forum, you will find this problem. Sometimes, some beings may have inexplicable strange things happen to them, or they may suddenly master certain things like a prophet. Not only the natives in the war world, but also the lords and even the war game itself may have such strange things happen.